So are we long? Hey, Ashley.
Hey, how are
Hey,
you?
I'm well. So thank you for joining me. And this is Nailah Oni Speaks Live. I am Nailah Oni, and my special guest today is Ashley Townsend Daniels. And I just want to thank you so much for joining me for this conversation today.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. So, I say we just jump right into it. Like, let's just get this going. So, our topic today is it. So, the way this came about, which was so interesting, is that I was sort of like on a theme on my Instagram page, and I posted something in which I was referencing forgiveness. And then I swear, like 2, 3 days later, Ashley posted a video on her YouTube page. And it was basically the same topic. So I was just like, you know what? I said, we need to collaborate. I was just like, we're talking about the same things. I was just like, I know I have my perspective, you have yours. And I was like, this would be a great show that we can do together. So I'm just really excited about it today. And so the topic is about forgiveness and the alchemy of forgiveness. So, you being my guest, I just want to I give you the floor. Like, why don't you start us off?
So, I thought that it's important, and with my English degree background, it's
Okay.
very important for me to always have a definition of
Hmm.
forgiveness.
Hmm.
So, I went to Google, but I didn't like what Google said because it was like
Hmm.
the art of forgiving. And I'm like, what? So, I found the intentional and voluntary process by which a victim undergoes a change in feelings and attitude regarding an offense and overcomes negative emotions such as resentment and vengeance.
Mm.
So, the first thing about this definition, though, that I didn't like was the idea of a victim. Because when you get caught in a victim mentality, um, it's somebody outside of yourself causing you a problem.
Mhm.
And that's not the case. Um, Kim Warner and Kamoy Knight, they did a video yesterday about, it's not people outside of yourself that you blame. You have to blame yourself because you teach people how to treat you.
Mhm.
And in those instances, also, you only meet yourself and other people.
Mhm.
So when you find that somebody is treating you like crap, it's because you showed them you treat yourself like crap. So that's where forgiveness came up for me and why it was such a topic sitting on my heart because I said, I have taught all these people to treat me like this. I've showed
Mhm.
them that this is okay. Oh, I need to go to the source, which is me, and I gotta forgive me for that
Yeah.
because I don't need to look to forgive them because it was monkey see, monkey do. They saw me being rude, being nasty to myself with my inner talk and how I viewed myself. So they just fell in line and did the same. And granted, it's unfortunate because now I'm 31 and I'm looking back on myself like maybe I wasn't so nice to myself all the time, but everything happens for a reason. So it came in a time where I'm going through a major transition in my life
Mhm.
and just feeling like, okay, I got to get back to the basics. I got to forgive myself. I got to lay that foundation. I got to set
Mhm.
those boundaries because what you're not going to do is do that anymore. And
Right.
who I'm talking to is myself in the mirror
Right. Right.
and going from there.
Isn't it so interesting? You said you meet yourself in other people, and that is so true. But the that I find interesting is that, we have this inner talk that we have with ourselves. And when it's happening and people are treating us a certain way, like you're so unconscious of how you're really treating yourself, and what you even think of yourself, how you feel about yourself, and not really realizing that, just as you said, like everyone is our mirror. That was one of the things that I had to that became conscious of, is that as you said, you meet yourself in other people. And really, I like to think of it and this is just my perspective. Everyone may not agree with me, but um this is my reality, right? My experience. Everyone around me are just
Mhm.
players in my experience. So when I'm interacting with them, and in some way they may be dishonoring me or not treating me how I would like to be treated, it's really them like giving us a wake up call, like, I'm going to keep treating you like this until you wake up and realize that you're controlling how I treat you. So I think it's so interesting. And man, the lessons that you learn behind during this process of forgiving yourself, it's man, it's a difficult transition. It's a difficult process, but at the same time, it's the most liberating thing that you can ever go through, because you really have to quiet yourself and really go within and start to examine the way you think, the way you look at yourself, and not only that, but then go to the root of why you think that way. Why do you feel that way?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, getting to the root of it is always then where human nature kicks in. Oh, well, then it's their fault. No,
Hmm.
they did something to you and you adapted.
Hmm.
And maybe your adaptation served you for as long as it did, but it's not going to serve you forever,
Right.
because then you adapted again because of other traumas, other situations that have happened. And then you find, oh, I don't like who I am. And it shows up in sometimes the worst way. You're in a relationship with somebody and they are doing something to you and you're just like, I don't like how you're treating me. And it's because that doesn't resonate with who I am.
Yeah.
And then you go, but who am I? And then you get to that root and you're like, wait a minute. So you're telling me I changed everything about maybe who I was supposed to be just because somebody did this one thing to me? And it cut me
Mhm.
so deep that I didn't know that I had to forgive myself for creating this mask, because that's what it is. You create a mask. So then when you get quiet within yourself, you start pulling down the layers, because it's kind of like an onion, because you create all these layers of different masks, of different things that you have to be for other people, for yourself, just to coexist in society with the collective and all their crazy norms that they've created for us as women, as Black women, or as anything,
Yeah.
And then, so you're pulling the layers back of an onion, and then you get to the basis of who you are. And you're like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I haven't been true to you. I'm so
Mhm.
sorry that I didn't love you enough to just be you. And I was afraid to just be you, because that's where it all comes from, the basis of fear, the fear that this person isn't going to like me. I'm going to be ridiculed. I'm going to walk alone. So walk alone and be uniquely you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
At least you don't have to pretend. And then you forgiving yourself to a place where you're free. Like you said, it's
Yeah,
liberating. It's such freedom. And then you can really just love people for who they are and not put your judgments that you've created.
yeah, yeah. So you said you didn't love yourself enough. Um but let's go there. Let's dig there, because where do we even get that concept of not loving ourselves enough? Like what I know what it happens for me, like, it's for me it stems from childhood, things that I've experienced in childhood that then created these stories that I thought to be true, and these limiting beliefs that I thought to be reality, when really it was just an illusion. Because we take on, again, like you said, these masks, and it's usually a mask that we didn't create for ourselves. It's what our parents taught us, or interactions with other people that made you feel that you being yourself wasn't enough. So let's
Absolutely.
just go there.
I can say for me, um, my parents were rock stars, I think. Um, they taught me to like love myself, and like my dad was very influential in knowledge is power, and
Mhm.
like you're beautiful. My mom the same way. Like, so it came more from, I'm the youngest of three girls. I
Mhm.
am the only cousin in my age group. So, oh, Ashley, you're spoiled. You're a spoiled brat. You get what you want. And it's
Yeah.
like, I get what I want, but I work hard. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
go to school, I pull A's and B's. Like, I'm not just some kid like throwing a temper tantrum. I want it, give it to me. No, like I still worked for it, but
Yeah.
it created an insecurity in me. Like, well, maybe I am just a spoiled brat. So that's where the nurturer came out, the over nurturer, the person who was like, oh, if I have this, if I have $1.99 and you need $1.98, you can have it all. I'm gonna give you the $1.99 because I'll figure it out. I'll make it work. So other people's stresses and burdens and insecurities and issues became my own, because I said, "Oh, well, maybe I've been given too much. Maybe I'm too blessed, and I got to show people like I struggle. So I created struggles,
Yeah.
and it was all like when I look back on it, it's all stemming back to I felt uncomfortable. I didn't love the fact that I hustled and I got rewarded.
Mhm.
So then, and where I'm at now, I've never traveled. I always wanted to go to Italy, Costa Rica, all these places.
Mhm.
Um, but then I created struggles for myself not being able to do it.
Okay.
You know, oh, I got to get my credit right. I got to make sure I free up enough money. Or how am I going to pay for the flight? Oh, you know, Christmas is coming up, so it's got to wait. All these things. And it's like, are these realistic issues? Or are these issues that you're placing in your brain because of that little girl inside of you who's saying, create the struggle because then people will see that you worked hard. No, you don't need to create that struggle. You need to love and honor yourself within,
Mhm.
and know that at the point when your parents had you, they were rock stars and they were able to bless you in ways that they couldn't bless your older siblings when they had them.
Yeah.
It's just the way that life changed for everyone.
Yeah.
So, but then it manifested in other ways for me. Oh, I didn't think I was pretty enough. I got a big forehead, so I got made fun of. I had real bad acne, so I was pizza face.
Mhm.
So it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I kept putting on different masks and pretending things were okay. And then 2020 came, and
Mhm.
everything hit the fan, and I was
Right.
like, "Oh, wait a minute, the walls is crashing, and I'm not ready."
Right.
And the truth I was ready the entire time, and I just needed to forgive the little girl who told that
Mm.
original little girl that she wasn't good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that series of pulling that apart and doing that and recognizing that, hey, this person said this one thing to me and it made me feel some type of way, but I don't have to go after them because I agreed to that.
Yeah.
So it was what I agreed to within my own self that is what created these people outside of me to treat me the way that they treated me.
Mhm.
And now, breaking through that and pushing forward and also becoming a mom to a little girl is kind of like, get this right. because you don't want her to adopt something that isn't right for her. Though that
Right.
may be what she signed up for and what she has to do. But if I don't get it right for me, I'm then going to push that off on her.
Right.
And that's not her cycle. I got to break that cycle.
Yeah. 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 It's always the little girl or the little boy inside. I mean, that you have to address that people, including myself, had been ignoring all the years I've been on this planet until I went through a huge spiritual awakening and had to face all of these things. I like the monsters in my head, the boogeyman in the closet. Like I had to face them and also become friends with them. So, when you speak of the little girl inside, and you were sharing your story, it just made me think about my own. I grew up overweight child, and I remember at 8 years old hearing my parents arguing, and one of my parents was like yelling at the other, blaming them for the fact that I was fat. So in that moment is when shame was birthed for me, so and it was so interesting because that's when I became self-conscious about it, and of course it became a wound, right? And that I just didn't know how to address. I was a child, and just grew and grew and grew and grew, and I struggled with my weight my entire life. And it's funny because you talked about how friends would say, "Oh, you have they were jealous of you or whatever." And I experienced that too, like from people close to me in school, because I was always pretty, but at the same time, like I didn't feel good enough or worthy enough because I was rejected by my own I felt rejected by my own parent. So it's interesting, and then, now I've shed, tons of weight since then, but and especially over the past like year and a half, but it's just interesting how I was confused. I didn't know whether to not like myself or if I should feel like I am good enough because everybody thinks that I'm, so great or, so lucky or you have everything, which I didn't. People didn't know. I remember in school, I could never understand it. Um, People would think I was privileged, like highly privileged. And I would think to myself, like, do y'all know my house phone has been off for 2 months? How could you think I'm privileged? And I was all this and that. But anyway, that's how I perceived myself. So I had to work through all of that. And of course, dealing with that, it affects relationships, intimate relationships. So but you know what? At the end of the day, I understand why I had to go through all of these things. And I'm so grateful for the lessons because I had to awaken to who I am. All of those things that I thought I was, those limits, it was never about the weight. It was about addressing the little girl inside and addressing the shame and realizing that, damn it, you are perfect. You are perfect, and you're not supposed to be a cookie cutter version of someone else. So, it's been a journey. I've done a lot of, we talk about shadow work all the time. I've done so much shadow work. But just getting back to forgiveness, I like we were talking earlier during our mic check. I had to realize that forgiveness was never about the other person. Though again, this is my reality. Everybody are just players in my reality. And I had to experience those things to awaken to who I truly am, not the illusion of who I thought I was based off of other people's perceptions or other people's opinions of me, um, and realize that, sometimes people want, and I used to be this person, like, how could I forgive you and you didn't even apologize to me, And it's not even about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even about that. Like, you don't really ever have to apologize with me because I get it now. It's never about you. It's always about me. And I had to forgive myself. First of all, I had to hug on and address my 8-year-old self that in that one moment felt unworthy of love, of acceptance. I had to address her and forgive myself for even thinking I was unworthy. And
Mm-hmm.
and coming to the realization in which I have now is that, I tell people all the time. I had a conversation with my cousin maybe a couple of weeks ago, and I said, when people act nasty or people do things that are dishonoring, like, yes, it is okay to set your boundaries and disallow people from treating you that way. But when you really understand what forgiveness is, that's where the compassion for those people come in. Because if you
Mm-hmm.
really even knew who you were, there would be nowhere in the world that you could ever mistreat or hurt me or anyone else. But the fact that you are just means that there's a monkey on your back. There's demons in your closet. There's monsters in your head that you need to address. So to me, that's what the alchemy of forgiveness is. It's coming to the awareness that it's never about the other person. And actually, man, there's a lot of people that have hurt me. And there's still people who talk trash about me. And I just, I wish you nothing but the best. Like, really, I do. I really,
Mm-hmm.
I used to be that hurt person, like, just cut you off. I will cut you off so fast and not even think about it. But it's just like, you don't even know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even know who you are. So how can I even be mad at you? As a matter of fact, I actually have love and compassion for you because you are in an unawakened state and you're suffering. And you're suffering.
Yep.
You're suffering. So
So
that's
just to piggyback off of something you said, I read an article and it was about the 8 tips to forgiving. And I said, oh, this is going to be interesting. Let's see what
yeah,
tips
yeah,
they
yeah.
give. And one of them is develop a forgiving mind through empathy. And I was like, wow, we had literally just talked about it during the mic check, where
Yeah.
once you forgive yourself and you look at what somebody else does to you, you realize you are reacting through your pain.
Yes.
You are living out your trauma, and it's nothing that I'm doing to you directly. I'm just showing you that mirror of that shadow that you've been ignoring, that you can't ignore it anymore. And if you continue to
Exactly.
ignore it, it's going to come up in every aspect of your life, in your relationships, in your friendships, at work. Even when you're by yourself in the car, it's going to come up, and you got to address it.
Right.
So for me, when I read that, I said, is this what this has been called this whole time? I thought it was just seeing where, like, letting, like, meeting people where they were,
Right.
and just understanding that we all got our own work to do. I didn't know that
Yeah.
it meant that I had become a person who had a forgiving mind.
Yeah.
And just even thinking about that, something I wanted to bring up that I also read on this same article is that a lot of people think the moment you forgive, like, yourself,
Hmm.
you reconcile with yourself, because now it doesn't mean that the process is over, but you've reconciled something in yourself. But that doesn't mean when you forgive somebody else, it's reconciliation. Nope.
Yes. Yes.
because we are humans and we think that people need to apologize as we agreed upon a couple seconds ago. Um, it doesn't mean that they're going to change. It doesn't mean that they're going to be any different than who they were. They might still say the same rude things, do the same rude things, treat you bad, but you have forgiven yourself, freed yourself, and in essence, you freed them.
Right.
You want to know what, baby? You just hurt, and
Yeah.
hurt people, and that's fine. But that doesn't mean I need to stay in that place with you. So I love you. I wish you love and light, and I hope that you get through this.
Right.
And you just meet them in that place and treat them with that love and kindness, because some people didn't get unconditional love. Some people
That's
didn't
right.
get that nurturing that they needed growing up. And it's something that's been ringing true to me lately. Just because I change at the rate that I change doesn't mean that anybody else is ready to change at the same rate as me. We
Right.
all do it in our own time. So
Right.
just because I've forgiven you, and sometimes I don't have to forgive you and come to you and say, "Hey, I forgive you for being a jerk to me when we were kids." Nope.
Exactly.
I don't need to meet you in this world and say that. I can meet you in the spiritual world. I can meet you in the ethers. I can do it quietly with myself sitting on the porch. I can do it in
Yeah.
meditation. I can do it in yoga and
Yeah.
just say, I forgive those who treated me bad because of them viewing me as spoiled
Yeah.
and feeling jealous of the opportunities I afforded. And now you won't even look at them the same way. You don't even pay them any attention when they're coming at you crazy, because they still come crazy because they're no different, because they haven't freed themselves. They didn't go within. They didn't spend that quiet time. Because had they spent that quiet time, they would have freed you years ago,
Yeah.
months ago. Out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't even
And
think it
it
is
was
about.
just, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I'll cut you off. But go ahead and finish.
No, no, it's okay.
I was gonna say I don't even think it's about. Um, I forgot. Sorry, I forgot what I was gonna say. But anyway, you mentioned having a forgiving mind. So how do you even get there? How would you tell people how to
So
get there?
so the article gave all these weird tips, and some of them I skipped because I felt that it kind of gave them out of sequence. The last tip that they had was to forgive yourself. And I said, you got to start there.
Yeah.
You got to start with you, because the only thing that you can control in this world is yourself. That is the only place. So it said it doesn't mean when you forgive that you forget. You just recognize that everybody handled their situations differently,
Yeah.
and that you also address your inner pain, which I thought was very excuse me, very, 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 very important and very pivotal, because someone might have hurt you, but if you don't address what that did to you inside, you don't ever really forgive. You just say, I forgive you. And
Right.
then as soon as they say something else crazy, or you at a family function, or you're around your friends, I forgave her, but that don't mean I get down with her like that. That's fine. You don't need
Right.
to say that. Because if you're
Yeah.
saying that, that means you didn't forgive. That means you're still stuck in that place.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And the article also mentioned you have to forgive people based on the level of hurt that they did to you.
Hmm.
And I found that interesting, but then I understood
Mhm.
it, because if some, like as your example, that one parent saying something to that 8-year-old girl, and then if you think one of your friends might have said something to you when you was 15, if you forgive your friend, but you never went back to that original cause, did you really forgive your friend?
Right.
Because your friend just reinforced something that you already agreed to when you were 8.
Yeah.
So I found that to be super, super powerful. And I was like, oh, maybe I need to write a list. And I said, no, I don't need to write a list, because I just need to work on forgiving me, and I don't need to look outside of me.
Exactly.
Um, so it was just interesting. And I think that the most important thing about having a forgiving mind is just to remember that there is an inner child, or there is somebody in somebody else who was dishonored,
Yeah.
who wasn't loved and nurtured. And that is who you're interacting with in those moments. Because you're not interacting with a full grown adult when you're having that
Ex-
conversation, when you're angry, when you're being emotional, because it's not the adult that doesn't know how to handle their emotions, it's the child.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
thought that was a big deal to me. And even thinking about it, just in terms of myself, like I am super emotional. It probably has a lot to do with
You,
all the water in my chart.
it,
but
too.
but when I can quiet that emotion, it's like in meditation, I can see the little girl who's hurting.
Yeah.
And it's almost like she's wearing a sash with what happened to her. And I'm like, please forgive me. And that's all I can say to her. Like, please forgive me. I love you. Like the prayer Kamoy and Miss Kim always give to us, I'm gonna say it wrong. Hoponono.
I don't know how to say that word either.
But that prayer is 4 simple sentences. It's I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, and thank you.
Yeah.
When you say those things to your inner child, you free them of whatever burden they have, of whatever sash they're wearing, whatever scar, whatever wound. You've acknowledged that hurt, you've acknowledged that pain. And you can't do that with somebody else.
Right.
You can't say, I have to forgive you for you treating me poorly.
Hmm.
You do, but it's not their fault.
Right.
It's your fault for accepting it. It's your fault for making that agreement.
Hmm.
So that was just where, when I thought about having a forgiving mind, it's like, man, we all just did the best that we could until we became awake. And now we
And
just got
so
to be better.
exactly. I was just gonna go there because you don't know what you don't know. Like one thing that I always say, especially human beings do a good job at trying to sound like they know what they're talking about, right? And
Right.
I always say that, and it's one thing to and intellectualize a concept, a thought, an idea, but until you've actually come face to face with it in terms of your own relationship with yourself and others, you don't know anything. You know
Mm-hmm.
nothing. You know nothing until you shift into a higher consciousness and get the revelation about how you've been behaving and how things interplay with one another. You know nothing. So I think that again, people just like to hear themselves talk. And I think when you have to go deeper than that and you have to want to, I think people like to, um, ego trip. The ego is something else. The ego will have
Mm-hmm.
doing some crazy things. And it's so interesting. Um, just going back to what you were talking about earlier, about forgiveness and forgiving other people. And even if you forgive that person, it doesn't mean that they're going to change. And I think that is absolutely so true. And yes, I am aware in my higher state of consciousness that when I'm interacting with most people, I could tell and pick up in all conversations who I'm actually talking to. I know when that inner child has reared its head and is upset about something, and I know when I'm talking to you in a higher state. But it's so interesting to me because I have a cousin who I love, and she always wants to, she thinks that having a air it out session where everyone gets their gripes out, and I'm just like, that's not. I'm not doing that, like, because I had to explain to her. I was just like, first of all, to every party involved has to be willing to be honest, right? And not only that, but I've already forgiven the people that you want to be aired out. Like,
Right.
I'm past this. So, and it's, to me, it's counterproductive because I'm not about going through the motions or going through production, just to say that I did something. Oh, we sat down and that's fake to me. To me, that's fake, because we don't need a production like that to really get to the root of if there is a conversation that both parties want to be had. It doesn't take that. It doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's that performance. That's that song and dance of we sat down, we hashed it out, and we're so much better now. But
no,
at the next family function, you're still on opposite sides of the room and you didn't hug each other, you didn't love and embrace each other.
yeah.
So you just wanted to say you did it.
Okay, so we have
Mm-mm.
a question from the chat. How do you forgive or forget when people are unagreeable? Is what I think you're saying. You wanna you know what? I don't think it matters if they're unagreeable or not. And this is why it doesn't matter. Because if you are in a higher state of consciousness yourself, and maybe you're not, maybe you and that person are still on the same level, or maybe your ego wants to make you think that you're so much better than this person who is unagreeable. But if that's the case, and you are looking to forgive that person, it never is about the other person. It's about you. It's about you. It doesn't matter if that person never changes. It really doesn't. It's about
You
accepting
have
people
to,
where they are
exactly what I was about to
and
say. You have to
keeping
meet
it
people where they are.
moving. Keeping it moving. And yes, I'm sorry. The way I tell people is, some people might think it's off the wall because it's radical, because I think that this world programs people to think family first, family first. That's bullshit. It's
Mm-hmm.
not. I think that's the program that they want us to believe, to think that you should accept bad behavior from people who are within your family and still ride for them. No, you ought to set a boundary, and if someone can't respect that boundary, then they can't be a part of your life, period. Family or
Right.
not. I don't believe in family first. I don't.
And the
So
other thing I want to address with that question is about forget. You don't forget,
no, you
because the
don't.
moment you forget, you allow somebody else to come in and treat you that same way, because that means you didn't truly forgive and you haven't forgiven the person that's been. So you got to sit with yourself because you want to remember. You That's like being in a relationship with somebody who's a cheater. You're like, why does everybody keep cheating on me? Because you let them. So you have
No.
to set that boundary, and don't forget that, your first boyfriend cheated. Don't forget that your second boyfriend cheated, because then you just keep attracting people who will give you more of the same, like those familiar spirits people talk about.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. So don't forget. Thank you so much for your question.
And then I think you also have to sit with yourself and really get to the root of why you are holding this person to a particular standard. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And why is it affecting you? Like, what is repressed? What is the root cause of the issue that you're probably skirting over? because you may not want to deal with it, but that's where you have to go to be able to forgive yourself, because again, it's not about the other person. You know, a lot of people will listen. I've had someone very, very close to me and who I told before, like, yeah, I don't have a problem with you. Like, and I really meant it. But this person wanted me to have a problem with them to justify the way that they treat me. And then that's why I was just like, okay, like, that's crazy. But again, it's not about the other person. It's about figuring out what needs to be resolved within you. Who cares if they're unagreeable? You have no control over what someone else does or doesn't do, or if they agree or disagree with what you agree or share your same perspective. That's ego. They have their own life to live and their own experience. Just like I said, this is my reality. Y'all are just players in my reality, period. So how I treat myself and the energy that I give myself and how I honor and love myself, y'all have to mirror that back to me, or you won't be in my life. So how do you get people to be agreeable with yourself? Any other questions? And thank you all for being here. Who's in the chat? Got Yakini Banks, Galaxy Goddess, Kim Warner. Thank y'all for being here, and some other people who are not chatting. But any other questions from the chat? Well, anyway, as we see them, we'll keep addressing it. So and you know what?
One thing
funny.
I wanted to bring up also.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to bring up something that I also read on Mayo Clinic about forgiveness, which when I read it, I couldn't believe it. It blew my mind because I thought, a lot of people don't recognize that emotionally when you have something going on, it affects you physically.
Yeah.
So it talks about, what happens to you physically once you step into forgiveness. And I said, something can happen. Let me read this. It says that you have healthier relationships, improved mental health, less anxiety, stress, and hostility, lower your blood pressure, which my doctor told me I'm borderline high blood pressure. And I said, well, let me get with my forgiveness.
Yeah, you're right.
You have fewer symptoms of depression, a stronger immune system, improved heart health, and improved self-esteem. And when I thought about all of that, I said, all of that only affects you. So why do you think that forgiveness is something that you seek from other people? Other people can't lower your blood pressure. Other people can't improve your self-esteem. It is your self-esteem.
Self.
Like, the moment you tap into forgiveness and honor yourself, you mean to tell me from that I'm not going to have as much anxiety? Other people don't have anxiety for you. Only you have anxiety for you.
I'm not going to be
I said,
stressed out.
let me sign up with forgiveness real quick.
Right. Let me go meditate on this forgiveness right quick.
Right. Let me get quiet for a little while by myself and see what I get.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, and I think that's where people are stuck. And I know why, because of programming. This world programs you in the movies, on TV, on the news to think that other people are doing stuff to you. And other people owe you something, or other people have so much influence on you. Lies. All lies. It's the opposite. Everything is inverted. Like it's not true. We have another
So it's
question.
almost like you have to take. It's almost like,
No, go ahead.
just while we get the
Finish
question,
your statement.
you have to take that programming that you've gotten from the outer world and go, let me start with me. Because when I change my perception, when I change how I digest this, then it becomes different.
Yeah.
And you got to do something different once you start forgiving. Because if you go back to old, then you are the person who is unchanged.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. You have to go within. You have to go within. Everything that you're seeking is never external to you. It's all within. Within. And guess what? Like forgiveness and self-love, all of that is attached to your quality of life, your abundance, everything. So
Mm-hmm.
like people really have to understand that. And listen, the hardest thing to do is shadow work. But if you don't go to why you are why you've been behaving as this in this illusion of who you think you are, because I guarantee you, who you think you are and who you really are two different people. So until you go on
Mm-hmm.
that journey to actually figure out, like, why am I having these same issues over and over and over and over and over again? Why do I not feel happy? Why do I feel this way? Why do I have difficult relationships with people? You need to look at yourself and go there. Go there. Go to that little girl or little boy inside that was traumatized at some point as a child. You know what I mean? Or was disappointed, or
Mm-hmm.
experienced something that changed your life, and or was a negative experience. Like, you have to go there because it's tied up there, and they want to be released. And that's why you keep having the same repeated um situations, because that's the universe, that's God trying to say, we gonna keep bringing this back to you until you look at it. No, because nothing is gonna change. So Galaxy Goddess says, where do you think the ideology of accepting forgiveness from others instead of yourself stems from? I think programming.
That, yes,
Programming.
what society has told us, what they have taught us, they have taught us that their standards are your standards. How do you get to tell me? How do you get to decide for me? How did you set that precedent? Like, who gave you all that power?
Right.
No, I'm taking my power back and I'm going to decide that I'm going to forgive myself, because when I forgive myself, I'm free now. Whether you decide to embrace your freedom and forgive yourself and then move forward is on you. So it all comes from the powers that be, the traumas that we have faced, the agreements that we made as children, and every obstacle that we've come into, that we then put those masks on and created all those layers. Like, I use the analogy of an onion, similar to how Shrek did in the movie.
Yeah.
When you peel back those layers, you start to see, I didn't mean to agree to this. I don't think that's who I am. And then you get to that core of that onion, like that, the little part that you're supposed to replant to create more onions, and you go, oh, this is who I am. This is me truthfully. So it's all these other people around you that made you powerless
Mm-hmm.
and impose their ideas, their standards. Because something happened to them, this is how it's got to be for their children. Because something happened to their friends, this is how it's got to be for you. No, don't do that to me. Let me grow up and be who I am destined to be. Let
Yeah.
me control my forgiveness, my experience.
Yes. Yes. And I think, and like Karen says, situation and circumstances also uh, go with that. Um, just I forgot what I was about to say. My mind just races. But anyway, it's just it's so interesting. just this topic. I mean, it's so nuanced, it's so deep. Um, but I think ultimately it's a journey of acceptance and of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because that's how you get to forgiveness, when you accept that everything that has occurred or everything that is in this moment is how it was supposed to be, but knowing that you have the authority to make changes in your life. You don't have to just keep staying in that place. You have the authority over your own life to change, regardless of what you've experienced um, over the course of your life. So,
And even just what you said, that you have the authority. You don't need to ask permission. Can I
yeah,
forgive you? No, you ask no one but yourself permission. So ask
yeah,
yourself permission to feel, because maybe you haven't been feeling. Ask
yeah,
yourself permission to speak because you haven't been speaking. And when you do those things, you're able to find that pivotal moment in your life where you decided to stop feeling, you decided to stop talking, you decided to stop loving, you decided to see yourself through other people's eyes
yeah.
and not through the eyes that were given to you.
Yeah. And also, and release the judgment behind that and the
Yes.
shame. Release the judgment, and because guess what? Just like we can, when we forgive people, we realize that they did the best that they can on their level of consciousness. We can't expect people who are unconscious of their own selves to suddenly raise us right or treat us right. You know what I mean? They don't know any better. So you have to release the judgment and the shame of that, and have compassion for yourself. You know what I mean? And I think that's where a lot of people get lost, is because they think it's external. Oh, I forgive them. No, it goes back to forgiving yourself, but also releasing the shame and the judgment and how you criticize yourself, the negative self-talk. You know, a lot of people talk themselves out of, and I've done it. That's why I can say this. A lot of people have talked themselves out of so many beautiful things and beautiful opportunities and situations, because they're still holding the shame and the judgment for something that they did 20, 25, 40 years, whatever, so many years ago. And it's just like, no, just like I think, I always go back to this. Like, you know how when you see like a newborn baby or something, or a little baby, they're so cute. You just want to hold them and love them, and they could just do no wrong. Like, that same love and compassion that you can feel for that little baby, have that same love and compassion for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That unconditional love and compassion for yourself. So, and
But
you so
interestingly enough, even with those little babies, we start programming them in those moments, and we start peeling away of what they've come in the world with. Because, like you said, they're just so cute, so adorable, so happy, so loving, no judgment. They don't care. You hold them, they love you, you teach them things, and then you start to teach them, oh, well, we don't like those kind of people. Oh, don't go to her. Don't
mhm,
let her be around her. And just because they're babies doesn't mean that they don't understand, because your mood changes when you get around this person. So then as they get older, they have that same mood around that person. So lose that, stress, let that go. Recognize that you have to look at people in that Christ-like way, that they are perfectly made exactly how they are,
mhm.
and you treat them with love. You treat them with kindness. And it starts with forgiveness. Like, honestly, because once you forgive yourself for those misconceptions that you've created, at the basis is nothing left but love. There's no more fear. There's no more anger. There's no more hurt. It's just, it's really just love. And then you're just
Yeah.
a little ball of love.
Yeah. Yeah.
And who's going to reject love?
Unconditional love at that. At
Right.
that. Yes. So, right, when you get to that place, that's when you stop rejecting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think this was a great conversation, and we could go on and on and on and on and about this
Yes.
topic because I got stories for days, but I got stories for days. But anyway, I just want to thank you for joining me and for being here today. And I
Of
want to
course.
thank everyone who's been in the audience in the chat. Thank you all for joining. We will be doing this again. I have another live coming up on, I think, Tuesday at 7 with Kamoy Night. So look forward to that. We do have a topic. It's written down, so I can't think of what it is right now. But we will join us, subscribe and like to this channel. Ashley, before we go, please tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at Absolute Beauty 215. Um, you might struggle to find me on YouTube because my name is Lyrically Blessed, and I think a music person comes up. But if you check out Galaxy Goddess's page, I know she does have me linked. You can find me on Facebook, Ashley Townsend Daniels. That's me. Um, and also, if you're looking to get in contact with us because we have leadership classes and we do one-on-one sessions, because Nailah is a holistic wellness coach, I'm an executive coach, and we just have a group of amazing individuals all surrounded. You can find us on www.wealthyliving.com. Email Kim Warner if you're looking for information from her. She does birth charts, everything. She also does one-on-one sessions. Both of our mentors. So you can
Yeah.
find her and email her at ifwbuilders@gmail.com. Just don't hesitate. We're in a place now where all you're going to have is you. All you can control is you. So work on you, and what creates from that will be more beautiful than anything you've ever seen before, honestly.
Okay, and I just posted your YouTube link in the chat. Let me know if you guys saw that. It looks like it didn't go to Periscope, but that's fine. All right, so thank you. Thank you so much again for being here, and stay tuned. Again, like and subscribe to the channel so you can know when we're gonna do another live. All right, take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.